What is going on, everyone, and welcome to Wrestling Month. I'm Wayne the Real Deal.
DC.
And here we are with our very first video, and we're here to talk about some of the documentaries that you have, and talk a little bit about maybe each one, and kind of discuss like which ones are our favorites and why. So, TDC, I'll let you start off.
The first one I want to talk about is The Wild Men of Wrestling. It has Billy Jack, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, all the big names, and it's a pretty good DVD. I only watched it once, but I think it's pretty good.
Okay. Well, here we got Best of Raw 2009. Now, I don't know a whole lot about like all that happened in 2009, but from what I remember, there has been some great matches. I know DX, one of their big returns was around this time, and it was actually pretty good reunion for them. So
The next one is My Life, John Cena. It's good. It talks about his life, his career, building up to wrestling and all that.
Mm-hmm. All right, next one I'm gonna take note of here is Allied Powers, World's Greatest Tag Teams, and this talks about like a list of legendary tag teams over the years, such as Edge and Christian, D-Generation X, the Hardys, like the Freebirds, Four Horsemen, all of them. And honestly, I've watched this a few times myself, and I actually thoroughly enjoy this. So.
The next one is the DX, the first one they came out with. This is my favorite part of the movie.
Suck it.
And it talks about all the DX greatest moments, and that's why I like it.
Yeah. I mean, this one isn't much of a documentary. This is Vengeance. So. Hey. Bye.
This one is not on here either, but it has the very first ever stretcher match. And the very first stretcher match that was in that was Andre the Giant.
Alright. Well, next up, we have the documentary about Bret Hitman Hart. Just an absolute legend of his time and well-decorated champion. And if you like Bret Hitman, you need to watch that.
This one is the greatest wrestlers of the 80s. And I agree, every wrestler here is one of the greatest ones of all times in the 80s. I mean, Hot Rod, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Williams' dad, Sergeant Slaughter, it's good.
I am the real American.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, one that now I'm gonna, again, talk about here is Unreleased Ecw. I believe this is Volume 1. Volume 1. And this pretty much talks about like the origin story of how ECW was built. And I believe it's Paul Heyman that talks through this. I could be wrong on that. It's been a while since I've watched it, but from what I remember, is a pretty great documentary. If you're interested, check it out.
Now this one is a real good story. His uncle or his dad was a wrestler also, but this is a real good story. And I don't hear, but he used to be a referee before he was a wrestler. And one night he had to take care of Andre the Giant, driving on in the van or whatever.
And next up, you got Falls Count Anywhere, the documentary. And this primarily talks about the many street fights that happened in the past.
There might be 3 matches in that one.
Well, maybe and so. But primarily it talks about like all the street fights and everything in between. I believe like the Boiler Room match. I believe that's on here. So.
Or not.
Me?
Well,
Yeah.
it's mine. This one is the best of Raw beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, this shows all the old wrestlers, all the old matches. It's a good DVD. this one.
Here you got the history of WrestleMania from 1 through, trying to remember my Roman numerals. I believe that's 9. I think it's 9. Anyway,
It is.
so this pretty much talks about a little brief history about, those WrestleManias.
What their ideas was before.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not bad as well. So
this one is Rey Mysterio's story. He's trying to go through surgery 6 or 7 times, and everything he done in between.
Which ones have we not done?
These two, all these good ones.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and
talk about that one.
Well, I'll kill 2 birds with one stone right here. So we got the Hulk Hogan documentaries. We got the anthology right here, and we have, I believe this is the first one they made for, this is the collector series.
He's a real American.
But pretty much both of these equally just talk about the career of Hulk Hogan. Not so much of the real life stuff, such as the sex tape stuff and everything like that.
Or the racism. Don't forget about the racism.
Yeah, that too. But I mean, if you're interested in the career, then give these a watch.
Talk about that one. I'll talk about these ones.
Oh.
Or a few of these.
I haven't personally watched this thoroughly, but from what I've watched, it's not bad, but it kind of drags on quite a bit. But
you gotta be from that century to really like it, though.
Well, not necessarily. It's still interesting in its own way. Which this talks about, obviously, the glory days, which is before WWE.
Curious George.
Mm-hmm. You got Buddy Rogers, Killer Kowalski, all those legends.
Stevie Ray, probably.
Well, maybe Stevie Ray.
Pat Patterson, maybe.
So, again, all these are a great watch.
So, what is your 5 favorite out of these?
Okay.
You were near him.
Start with you.
This one, Ultimate Warrior story, great movie. It's all one guy. Everybody thinks it was 2 different or 3 different guys. You look at it, they don't look the same. You want to say anything about this one?
I haven't personally watched it, so I don't have much to talk
He
about.
sleeps too much. That's what it is.
Man.
Falls Anywhere. There's probably ECW, WCW, all that in this. It's a great cassette. I like it. And then you want to say about that one?
Well,
Your name next.
I'll just wait till you get down with yours.
This is a real good one. I showed a match of New Jack and somebody. They put 12 tables up and I went through one off, 30-foot drop or something? 30-foot drop. The best of Raw 15-year anniversary. Real good movie. First where DX invades WCW. And I love every minute of this movie. Attitude Era. That's my favorite out of all of it. Is Attitude Era.
Can't go wrong with those picks. I don't have all mine per se in order, but I do enjoy this one, the Attitude Era.
Did I make that one? I made that one. One of them made it.
Yeah. The Attitude Era. It was a great time in wrestling. It was bonkers crazy.
Puppies.
Yeah, puppies. It's back when everything was offensive, but nobody was complaining about it. It was just an absolute great time for wrestling. So definitely give it a watch if you're interested. Forever Hardcore, again, another great documentary. You pretty much summed it up. It has all kinds of great stuff it talks about of some of the
Hardcore legend right there. The best damn one other than Nick Foley.
Well, that's debatable, but that's a video for later. But this just talks about. This is practically an ECW doc, and it talks about some of its most brutal matches ever, like Cactus Jack, or not Cactus Jack, but New Jack, tossing somebody off of 12 tables.
These 3 guys and this guy right here still wrestle sometimes.
Check it out once again if you're interested. A couple that I want to take note of that we don't have right here is Beyond the Mat, another great doc about sort of like hardcore wrestling.
Draws.
Mm-hmm. And everything with that. So I definitely highly give that a watch if you're interested. One in particular that I was kind of fond of.
But want to help DDP.
Well, I haven't watched that one.
I can't remember what it's called, though.
I watched bits and pieces of that documentary.
What's it called?
I forget what it is. But going back to what I was going to say is the CM Punk documentary, Best in the World, I think is quite interesting. I mean, not a lot of people would probably agree with me, but I mean, I followed CM Punk's career ever since he was in the Indies and
TNA. TNA.
Well, Indies, TNA, WWE.
ECW first,
and it's all the same. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good, interesting documentary. And if you got the time, sit down and watch it. By all means, do so. And one more, just for the road, is sort of a mini doc. I believe it's by Vice, and they sort of go behind the scenes for a specific wrestling company called CZW, which is a hardcore deathmatch wrestling company, and it's beyond what ECW has done. I mean, probably some bits and pieces here, but I believe, considering the fact it's deathmatch wrestling compared to hardcore, is a little more over the top. So it's a 30-minute documentary. You can watch it on YouTube.
I don't know, I'm forgetting. Go ahead.
But just go on Vice's YouTube channel, go type in CZW, you should be able to find it. So, but that concludes my favorites.
They got the Road Warriors, the Road Warriors, Macho Man, and all them. If you guys find them, watch them. I mean, any documentary you watch, I mean, you gotta sit through it, but it's still good that you might find out stuff you didn't know before.
Right. I mean, we apologize that we're not going like completely thoroughly through each individual one. We just simply do not have the time for this video. But stick tuned for the rest of the month. We have plenty of videos for you. Just keep watch up.
Yep.
Till next time, guys.